Welcome, everyone, to a call for judgment. As we all know, they are assaulting the food supply chain in so many different ways. And you probably can look at some of these stories and say, well, it's probably a good thing. But in reality, it's not, because as more and more fast food chains shut down, the majority of people are going to be forced to eat that type of food. Now, I know most of you don't eat that kind of food, but I think we'd all be lying if we said we never had it before when you're in a pinch. If you're driving somewhere and you need to pick up food. But the food supply chain needs to be completely controlled. And I feel like when they ran out the plant-based burgers and things like that, that they saw the numbers were so low. Like nobody was going to McDonald's and getting, one of these fake plant-based burgers. Nobody was going to Burger King and getting it. People were still going and getting the type of stuff they want. But they want to eliminate meat in general. And I get it. That a lot of the meat, obviously all of the meat at fast food chains isn't real meat. At least a small percentage of it might be, but it might not be the kind of meat you think. You know what I mean? Could be a different kind of meat. But look at all these stories out there, and then I'll get into Michael Obama, who's popping up in the headlines, because of course, in addition to removing the food and things like that, they want to go after the youth. They're obsessed with the youth, and they're obsessed with our bodies. As the Bible tells us, our body is our temple. Well, they want to poison our bodies, and they want to poison our bodies, they want to poison our spirit, they want to poison our mind, and that's what we're seeing going on right now. We're seeing these people in power, these people with influence, taking over everything and destroying everything. And it's done by design, because remember the old saying, he who controls the food controls the world, because in reality, especially if you look at today's world, I would say 90% of Americans don't have a clue how to even farm a tomato, let alone farm enough food for them to eat and survive. And then on top of all those things, of course, we know that there is an assault on meat. There's an assault on meat, and there's the promotion of eating crickets and eating bugs. And I just can't get over the fact that there are some brainwashed people out there that actually think that eating bugs is going to be good for the climate and not eating meat, when for the history of humanity, humans have eaten meat and been perfectly fine and okay. But now apparently you need to eat a cockroach. And this, of course, this isn't a conspiracy or anything like that. We're just seeing all the rich globalists who are promoting this, as well as promoting the hoax known as climate change. So let's start with some of the fast food chains, because these are going to go under. A lot of them are. And again, this is by design. They want to have full control over what you eat, to the point where you won't even be able to have a chicken on your own farm, in your own coop, without it having that M.R.N in it, okay? A in it, excuse me. They want everything to be under their control. You're probably going to need a license to even do it, because they're going to talk about carbon emissions with having chickens, and nobody sees the scam here. So the fast food chains are starting to go under, as well as a lot of restaurants, but Burger King is closing 400 stores. McDonald's is laying off lots and lots of people. They're shutting down a lot of places. And Hardee's is another popular fast food chain that's shutting down. Now, again, the food there is obviously not healthy, but then let's look at the flip side of it. We have Michael Obama, the return of Michael Obama, who, of course, Michael is promoting the fact that, well, Michael wants to be putting this type of food in schools. What kind of food? Well, food that's just filled with sugar, right? Added sugar sweetener. Instead of talking about, oh, you know what? Why don't we just have kids eat fruit, vegetables, and drink water? Well, Michelle tells us that their first product is a drink called Plezi for kids ages 6 to 12. So they're obviously targeting what these kids put into their body. They're targeting what these kids are thinking is healthy versus what actually is healthy. And Plezi, of course, is a drink consumed with sugar sweetener. And Michael goes on to talk about, because remember, the Obamas obviously did a lot of damage when they were in the White House as far as the type of food that was being served in public schools, removing meat from public schools, right? They don't want you to eat meat for a reason. They couldn't care less about the climate. All someone with common sense could do is look at how they fly around the world, how they parade around in their cars. They never drive the things they tell you to drive. When Biden's out and about, he's not in an electric vehicle. They want you enslaved into the whole concept of climate change. And that has everything to do with total control, including every single thing you will be allowed to eat. People just think about this from the standpoint of the carbon emissions and the electric vehicles. They don't realize that everything down to you blowing your nose is going to be tracked and monitored. And they don't want you putting anything in your body that actually might be good and healthy. If anyone out there actually thinks that it's safe and okay to eat crickets because all of a sudden, after the history of the world, all of a sudden now it's bad to eat meat. Now it's dangerous to grow this type of crop. You have to use this type of soil, the crap that they just spew out of their mouths. The hive mind zombies out there, which is pretty much everyone who's a liberal, actually believe that this has something to do with the climate. So they're like, oh, I have no problem eating bugs to help the climate. Is that supposed to be good for you? Oh, apparently now it is. But Michelle Obama talks about, well, because again, they've removed meat from the school systems for the most part because of the Obama administration. And we see it in New York. I covered that a while back, how New York was banning it as well and making everybody go vegan because they don't want you to have a really good source of protein. And on top of that, they want to get as much sugar in you as possible. So the fact that she says our first product is called Plezi for ages 6 to 12, she says, no, he says, make no mistake, water and milk are the best options for your kids. And kids shouldn't regularly drink anything other than water and milk until they're 5. Once kids become school age, drinking only water and milk isn't a reality. Oh, it's not? How many parents out there don't allow their kids because they actually discipline their kids and they say, you get water or you get nothing. You get milk or you get nothing. You get water with a lemon or you get nothing. No, instead we got to pump them with sugar, make them all mad, right? Give them all sorts of, problems in the long-term and short-term health for these young kids. So Michael goes on to say, it's not a reality to give your kids water when they're 5 or 6 years old. Nearly 2/3 of young people are consuming sugary drinks on any given day. So why is it not possible? Why is it not a reality? Oh, again, because remember the liberal hive mind mindset is the do what thou wilt mindset, right? So the kids are actually supposed to lecture the parents. The kids are supposed to tell the parents how to run the house, right? And when it comes to the school system, well, the Obamas are going to tell you how to run the school and the food in the school. So in other words, your principal or anyone else, you got to follow this formula of what you can feed the kids. So we're going to continue to see an assault on all types of food supply chains. And yes, I get it. It's probably a good thing that Burger Kings are going under. But people should be suspicious as to why this is happening. They should be suspicious about Hardee's. They should be suspicious about McDonald's. You ever think you'd be in a world where some McDonald's or McDonald's in general is laying off so many employees and cutting back so many corners? Now, again, they don't feel like they can force this food onto people without changing the laws and how they govern people. They know that people are not going to go to McDonald's for a Whopper and order a cricket sub, okay? Nobody's going to order cricket McNuggets at McDonald's. They're going to get what they always get for the most part. So they know that they need to start removing places like that and have more forced options on people. And of course, it'll all be presented under this umbrella of how healthy it is. Because of course, as we see, they care so much about us. They literally just poisoned an entire world, then told the entire world if they didn't take poison that they would be shunned from the world. And then 2 years later, like, oh yeah, oops. But they barely even say oops. They barely acknowledge any of it. So for anyone to think that their goal ultimately isn't to poison people's bodies, and the fact that we listen to these people, the fact that the liberal hive mind is so insane that they think that what they're trying to do with communism and what they call socialism is actually going to bring about fairness, and it's going to take away the rich people, and don't see the fact that the Jeff Bezoses of the world aren't going anywhere, and it's just going to get rid of the middle class and make everyone enslaved to them. It just shows you how dumb they are. But again, that's a group of people that focus on their emotions and their feelings because they're soft and they're weak, and they believe whatever Big Brother tells them. Because again, they were indoctrinated in the school systems. They believe in the school systems, and that, I've said it a million times. Part of the reason that they beat the same crap in the school system over and over and over again is to indoctrinate you into believing that the reality that you're in is actually real, when it's not. It's made up. They make it all up as they go. They make up history as they go. They alter things to fit their perspective. But once you hit 20 years old and you've been indoctrinated for 15 years in the school system, it's the only reality that you see. And that's where the hive mind comes into play. Anyone that questions that, the fact that people can't see through the censorship and they don't go, hey, the censorship's really suspicious. Why are they censoring all these people? Is there something behind it? Is there a reason for it? If they're just crazy kooks, why are we censoring? Well, no, we have to censor them because they're dangerous. Why are they dangerous? Oh, well, because they're going against our narrative. They're getting people to wake up. They're getting people to see the actual reality that we're living in, the hell that we're living in. And again, our bodies are our temple, and our bodies are it's being targeted. Our bodies are being targeted all over from every which way, right? The poison, the chemtrails, the poison in the food, just anything processed. And you sit here and tell me, oh, you know, Michelle Obama, what a hero, opening Plessy for kids, and it's going to be an alternative, healthy, sugar-sweetened beverage. There's nothing healthy about it. Tell your kid to drink the water or don't drink at all. Pretty easy. But we don't live in a world like that anymore. That's mean. How could you ever tell your kid to have something that they don't want? And that's how we have this half of this population that acts the way that they act, like complete madmen, like complete lunatics, and they see an inverted reality. They don't see what we see, right? They see an inverted world where they think that the actual problems that are going on when they're not. Oh my gosh, everybody's racist, everybody's this, everybody's that. Projecting, dividing, and then conquering. And the food supply is at the utmost importance to them. And more regulations are going to come in by 2030 with people being able to farm on their own. Remember I did that video on the community gardens? If you don't remember, I did a video on the community gardens. They wanted people to register their gardens. What do you think they want you to register it for? So they know where it is, then they know when they pull the plug that they can come and take your food out of your garden and give it to everybody. Oh, everybody deserves it. Even all these libs that put us in this position. They deserve to have your food that you grew and you told everyone that this was going to happen, and they still won't admit that you were right, or they still won't admit that anything has happened. They'll just believe whatever they hear on TV. Oh my goodness, Russia's attacking. Oh no, that would be the United States government attacking its own citizens. All the governments around the world attacking their own citizens. So the food supply is going to continue to be under attack. And you're going to see more and more stories about big food chains shutting down, whether it's McDonald's or Applebee's. And you might say to yourself, it's a good thing because they serve crap. But that's not what the point is. The point is to gain more control over how people eat. And you might say, well, wouldn't they want them to eat McDonald's? They want you to eat bugs, okay? And I get it. What's in McDonald's is pretty comparable in a sense if you actually know what's in some of the food. But this is about controlling everything, where you can even get food. The mindset of, I'm going to run and get fast food because I didn't have anything prepared for dinner. They don't want you to have that option anymore. Okay? The test experiment they just ran where they locked everybody inside, that's where they plan on keeping you with the carbon footprint and the carbon emissions. You're the carbon they're trying to stop. So you'll have to stay inside. How are you going to eat? Well, don't worry. The government will come give handouts of free food, and then you'll kiss their rear end and say how great they are, instead of saying, how did we get to this point? How did we stop farming? How did we let farmers burn their crops because a common cough and cold was supposedly spreading when it wasn't? How did we get there? Well, half the population is bringing us there. And then all these people who are in power, all these influencers, they're responsible too. So you will continue to see an attack on the food supply chain at so many different angles, and they all need to be covered, even if it's something like that. Because if they can control how and when you get food, they know that they'll keep you under control. It's the convenience of it. Right? Like I said, if you're on the road and there's nothing but a McDonald's, you're probably going to stop and get a McDonald's. Now, I'm not saying you should eat the McDonald's, but I mean, you probably will. Whether you believe it or not. If you're in the Sahara Desert and you see McDonald's and you're dying of starvation and thirst, you're going to eat the McDonald's. Right? Well, they don't want you to have the option to say, I want to go there and get food because I don't have any food for dinner tonight. They want you to say, okay, now that I'm stuck here where I am in my home because my carbon emissions, I'll eat what I'm told I'm going to eat, and it'll be hand delivered to me. And it might be you might actually get a hamburger roll, but inside of that hamburger roll is probably going to be a squished snake or something along those lines, because that's how sick and perverse these people are. And they know at this point they can trick pretty much half the population in this country into anything. Anything. They're living in an inverted reality. So Michelle Obama is going to poison your kids with sugar. The government's going to continue to shut down restaurants, food chains. There's going to be less and less groceries. The prices of them all are going to go up so that people can't afford it. And then they're going to come in like food stamps and say, look, we love you. We care about you. Okay, that's what we did with the 1-9er. We cared so much. Why are you mad at us? Here's food. We'll give it to you. What is that? Oh, it's a chocolate-covered cockroach. Feed your kids that. It's healthy. It's good for the environment. Is it good for you? Oh, no, it's not good for you. Exactly. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you and your families.